everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and welcome back to this YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the very first time and you're not a subscriber yet, well, you should be, so take this time and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and please hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So every episode that I like to do here on the channel, I usually like to start off all of our shows with a bit of movie news, because I understand that not all audiences like to listen to pro wrestling talk or NFL football talk or Funko Pops or whatever it might be I'm discussing here on the channel, just some of my own personal interests. But most people tend to like movie news, so I always like to start out all the shows with a bit of that first, in case you don't want to stick around for the rest of it. So with that being said, there wasn't a whole lot of movie news to discuss today, but we did have one bit of information in regards to the upcoming Disney Plus Day that is going to be on November 12th, which is a week from this Friday. And that's kind of where Disney is planning on releasing some new information on their upcoming Disney Plus platform, and maybe even some theatrical release info as well. So let's go over here and take a real quick look at potential spoilers about a few things we could be getting from the world of Star Wars on that day. So let's go over here and check out this article from the Direct. Star Wars leak is apparently promising big surprises on Disney Plus Day. As the wait for the Book of Boba Fett in December, its premiere on Disney Plus continues, all eyes are currently set on Disney Plus Day, which will take place on November 12th. Last year, Disney Investor Day served as the announcement day for both Disney Plus projects and theatrical films. Shows such as The Acolyte, Ahsoka, and even Lando were all confirmed to be going into production in the coming years. Similar to Disney Investor Day, this year Disney Plus Day will serve as the milestone day for many Star Wars projects. It has already been revealed that the highly anticipated Kenobi series, starring prequel trilogy fan favorite actors Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, will be receiving its first trailer on Disney Plus Day. However, it has recently been reported that many more upcoming projects will also be giving fans their first looks at them, along with new announcements of brand new Star Wars content to come in the future. According to Star Wars Newsnet, which is a pretty respectable Star Wars news website, a sizzle reel for the upcoming Andor series on Disney Plus will be officially released on November 12th during Disney Plus Day as well. The Rogue One prequel will be debuting sometime in 2022, so the chance of additional content regarding Andor is possible. The report also mentioned that 2 additional behind-the-scenes reels would be revealed for the Book of Boba Fett, as well as The Mandalorian. The outlet said that the announcements of new projects can definitely be expected, specifically an animated project that will be released in 2023, along with a teaser for Season 2 of The Bad Batch. So yeah, I mean, I did a episode yesterday about that upcoming animated series that could be coming in 2023. It has been rumored that it could focus on Darth Maul and his time with the Crimson Dawn Syndicate, as was hinted at in Solo: A Star Wars Story. And now it appears we're going to be getting behind-the-scenes looks of these other shows, and the biggest news of all is the fact it seems like we're going to be getting a trailer for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which that thing is going to burn the internet to the ground whenever it is released. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on some of this stuff, Brandon? Are you looking forward to like Andor, Obi-Wan, Bad Batch Season 2, Mando Season 3, Ahsoka? All this stuff seems to be coming within the next year and a half on Disney Plus alone. What are your thoughts on some of these, and do you have any sort of series maybe you'd like to see announced?
So I need no. I mean, I said no, and I didn't mean it like that. I haven't really, gotten a chance to watch a lot of these. I watched like 2 episodes, I believe, of The Bad Batch, and I just haven't had time to sit down and watch any more of it. It's not that I don't like it. My time is very limited.
Oh, I understand. And not only that, it's actually a rather long season. It's like 16 episodes for an animated show. That's rather long. And The Mandalorian was only 8 episodes apiece. So
yeah, and I love The Mandalorian. I think at one point, everybody in my house watched The Mandalorian. And Jaden, being this kind of new age Star Wars fan, if that makes sense. Like, his Darth Vader is Kylo.
Oh, okay. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? And like, for me, I'm like, no, Anakin's my Darth Vader. But he hasn't been exposed to like those movies yet. So his point of interest is from Kylo Ren forward. Now he's watched all of Mandalorian.
Right.
Loved it. I have no idea whether he's not watched The Bad Batch or not. I know my mother-in-law has seen Mandalorian as well. I don't know if she's into the animated series, so that's kind of where that goes with that. I know if Jaden was to see it, he'd probably enjoy it because he likes Transformers. He just wasn't into the movies, but he's watched every last one of the animated series.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And
Well,
he loves the animated series of Transformers. So I'm thinking giving him to him in this form too, he probably will enjoy him. He'll probably really like the Bad Batch as well. I would, for me, and we talked about this the one day at work. I would be really interested in a Darth Maul one. A Boba Fett, the movie, I'm kind of stoked for because, like, honestly, uh, Boba Fett was probably one of my favorite characters.
and one of the better parts of season 2 of The Mandalorian, I thought.
Yeah.
Getting to see his return for sure.
So, like, the Kenobi one, yeah, I would be interested in that too. But for me, I think more or less, once I'm able to actually sit down and finish the Bad Batch, I would love to watch season 2. Ahsoka, I never really watched
the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
Definitely
was
something. Clone Wars.
Was she in Rebels too?
Yes, she was in both.
I never. It's not again. Not like I shitting on them because I do know there's 2 movies, animated movie wise, that tell the whole story of the Rebels, but they're movies. If I'm not mistaken. I know one of them's. I've seen one of them on Netflix.
I only know of the one Clone Wars animated movie. I'm not sure which movies you're referring to.
Yeah, I think that might be it though.
Okay. That's not the best interpretation of the Clone Wars animated series, though, because that movie came out in theaters, I believe it was like 2007 or 8 after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, but it has a lot of the same scenes in the movie that I believe. I'll have to show you.
Well,
I know I'm not crazy because I've seen
exactly what you're referring to, but yeah, I mean, there may be something that I'm not remembering. Now, there was a 2D Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars miniseries that they kind of did online, but I don't think that's what you're referring to.
No,
but, yeah,
I'll have to show you because, like, if it's still there, I don't know. You know how Netflix is with.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
If it's still there,
most
I'll
of the Star Wars stuff would be on Disney Plus at this point. I don't know if there's anything that's not on Disney Plus that's Star Wars related, but.
It might. I don't know.
Well, and to your son's credit, you said that his Darth Vader is Kylo Ren. A lot of people kind of tend to, give the sequels a lot of crap, so to lack of a better term, much like they did the prequels at the time. But just like the prequels, though, the sequels have been the Star Wars that a lot of kids during that era grew up with. And your son, in particular, found Star Wars through the sequels. And hopefully one day he'll go back and watch what I would consider the better portion of the series with the original trilogy and the prequels.
To say, like, I don't think he's seen them, I think it's a lie. Because I know him and his grandma, I think it was for her birthday, they went and watched Rogue One.
That's a good one.
Was it Rogue One? Or it might have been the one that came out around Christmas last year. Or not last year. You know what I'm talking about.
It'd been one of the sequel trilogy numbers, probably. But yeah.
But they went and saw one of them together. I know that. And I took them to go see. Me and him went to go watch.
That one. Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, Solo.
I think they went to saw the Last Jedi together.
Trying to help you out there. But yeah.
No, it's the first one.
Okay.
Where Kylo first gets introduced. That's where he.
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, yeah. Yes. That's where he got his introduction to Star Wars in the sense of, like I said, Kylo is his Darth Vader. You know what I'm saying?
And if you guys do plan on watching the Bad Batch a bit, especially your son or whatever, I highly recommend watching the Clone Wars before that. It is kind of a prequel series to Bad Batch, and Bad Batch is the sequel, and then Rebels is kind of a sequel to Bad Batch. Yeah, I mean, just because the Bad Batch as a group are introduced in the final season of Clone Wars, so it kind of gives you a little bit of an introduction before the season starts. But it's not required, but it just kind of helps to know the time frame and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the rest of this news, though, I'm excited about just because, you know me, I'm a big Star Wars nut. I mean, all these shows would be great. It doesn't sound like we're going to get a whole lot of footage of anything in particular that's going to be of importance outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi with the return of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker from the prequels coming back some 10 years later. No, they old. Well, that's the thing. This show is set 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin turns to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan goes to Tatooine to watch over Luke Skywalker. So there is there's a line in Return of the Jedi that I really hope that this series focuses on. It's when Darth Vader is talking to Luke Skywalker before Darth takes Luke to the Emperor, and he tells Darth Vader, Obi-Wan once thought as you do when Luke was trying to turn him back to the good side. You don't know the power of the dark side. So when was Obi-Wan ever trying to turn Darth Vader back to the light? We've never seen that. So what does that line reference? I think this Obi-Wan Kenobi series is going to show Obi-Wan Kenobi thinking, he's my brother. I could still turn him back to the good side. And we're going to see him try to do that. It's going to fail miserably, but he's going to at least give it an attempt. So I think that could be a very cool premise if that's what they end up doing.
I still remember, like, you know, when I was on my big phase of like listening to a bunch of books at work, one of the books, I can't remember the title, and I don't think I have it saved on my Audible library anymore either. But it was a book where the Emperor and Vader crash on some planet.
Lords of the Sith. Yeah.
Dude.
I heard it was a great novel. I need to read it. It's one of their better ones I've heard.
All I'll say, I'm not going to say anything like that to give away anything, but all I know is there are several points in this book where he just turns them loose for no real reason other than to do it. And there's this one in a particular village where it was like, what the fuck was that for?
A massacre, I'm assuming?
It wasn't even close to a massacre. I don't think you can call that a massacre. It was more or less like an annihilation, only for the simple fact that they were passing through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the comic books have kind of delved into some of that time frame where Darth Vader's just kind of on this rampage at the height of his powers. But speaking of novels, though, just to kind of go off on a little bit here, one of the things I really hope we're going to see, I don't know if they're going to go the exact route here, and I don't want to ruin too much for Rebels for anybody who hasn't seen it, and especially you who haven't seen it either. But if you've seen The Mandalorian Season 2, you saw that Ahsoka was asking the whereabouts of Grand Admiral Thrawn. There is a set of novels that was released way back in the day. The
I know.
original
You
Thrawn
had me
novels.
listen to them.
I hope that what they end up doing is doing their version of Grand Admiral Thrawn post Return of the Jedi, possibly bringing in a young Luke, or there are obviously going to be some Rebels tie-ins that I don't want to get into here because of spoilers, but that story thread, the fact that Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is also in Rebels, by the way, so that's something to kind of check out. But that storyline thread that's still hanging there at the end of Return of the Jedi is something I hope that they end up doing. And the whole, when they first announced these shows, they said that these shows would all kind of coincide together and make kind of come together and do this one massive climax event. I think that could possibly be the Grand Admiral Thrawn, their interpretation of it in canon. So I think that could be really cool. He'd be like their Thanos at that time period. So I think that could be really cool. But the real question here is, guys, what do you guys think about the fact that Star Wars is going to be giving us some big surprises on Disney Plus Day? I also expect at least some Marvel news on Disney Plus Day as well. Probably not so much when it comes to their theatrical releases, because we kind of have an idea of what movies are coming over the next year and a half. But their series, we've got some that are in production, but we don't have any release dates starting in 2023. Or 2022, I should say. So I expect some more updates on when we're going to get these shows next year as well. And all this combined with the Star Wars stuff, it's going to be a big, fun time on Disney Plus coming up in the next few years. All right, so let's move on to our next item that we were going to get into here tonight. And that is, of course, Mike's Wrestling Fun Facts and Trivia here before we get into our AEW Dynamite review. So we're moving on to the pro wrestling portion of this show. He sent in yet another trivia segment here for us to discuss and go over and try to answer his question. So let's see what this week's question is all about. So here we go.
Hey, everyone. Brandon's favorite fuzzy guru and Eric's fantasy guru back with another edition of the Fun Facts and Trivia. Now, with Survivor Series around the corner, I figured I would hit you with some Survivor Series trivia. Now, the very first Survivor Series took place in 1987 on Thanksgiving night. It would go head-to-head with Starrcade 1987, which would be the first pay-per-view attempt by the National Wrestling Alliance. Of course, Starrcade had always taken place on Thanksgiving. This was just Vince McMahon being petty and deciding to stick it to the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, that seems to be a run-through
story,
trend.
but we'll save it for another time.
Petty never.
The first match in the event that featured teams of 5 striving to survive, would feature the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, leading a team that was comprised of the Outlaw Ron Bass, Dangerous Danny Davis, Hercules, and King Harley Race. Their opponents would be led by the Macho Man Randy Savage, and his teammates were Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Jake the Snake Roberts, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh.
So obviously, you gotta think nobody wants to make history of being the first guy for their team eliminated. But somebody had to. So what we're gonna do is ask you, who were the first 2 men, one from each team, to be eliminated from the Survivor Series for their team? Who were the first men eliminated for each team? Hope you all are having a wonderful time. I hope Eric has finally figured out whether the Tuck rule game that the New England Patriots defeat the Oakland Raiders
He had to bring
in either happened in New England or Oakland, California, where torrential snowstorms happen all the time, just so he can finally get it off his conscience.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing you all again next week when we have more Survivor Series trivia. Y'all take care, and just so you know, Brandon, I know I give you fuzzy feelings, obviously. I had to read between the lines on your little comment last week, and all I can say is, you give me fuzzy feelings too. You See y'all next week.
You big hunk of chocolate. That's what he called you.
That's what I call a man who has good taste right there.
He's always got to get in his digs on it,
God.
for sure. Yeah.
This question's stupid.
Stupid. Well, first of all, before we get into the answer to this, can we just stop for a moment and appreciate the gimmicks in this 10-man
First of all,
tag here?
like when the second team, like Macho Man's team, I'm like, dude, that's a hell of a team.
I mean, look at this. Honky Tonk Man, a rocker, I
Elvis.
suppose you could call it. Elvis impersonator. Outlaw Ron Bass, an outlaw.
God.
Dangerous Danny Davis, so he's the dangerous one, I guess. I don't remember him.
I don't
too
remember
much.
Jones' name.
Hercules, the
Strong man.
Yeah, the strong man. And King Harley Race. That's just one team. Okay.
I remember King Harley. He looked so goofy.
Yeah, that was actually a king that we actually neglected to mention when we were discussing King of the Ring.
Yep.
That's another one that was actually really good with the gimmick. Then, of course, on the other side, we had Macho Man Randy Savage. He's the Macho Man. Also, Macho King at one point. So there's that. Ricky the Dragon. That's a
gosh, dude.
Jake the Snake, Brutus the Barber, Beefcake, and of course Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So those gimmicks. I mean, this is 1987 at its peak when it comes to the gimmick territory. So yeah, I mean that's insane to me, and that was the first ever.
There's a lot of hair gel in this match.
Yeah, so you're probably right about that. But the question was, who were the first men on each team?
I guess it's the 80s. So this is a lot of hairspray.
Yeah.
There's a lot of curls in this match.
Probably a lot of mutton chops and things like
that.
Brother, maybe more 70s, but
oiled up.
Either way, but yeah, I mean, so who were the first 2 men who were eliminated?
Mad mullets in this match. Just mad mullets in this match.
Mad mullets.
I'm gonna say Brutus, and I'll go Dangerous Dave, whatever.
Dangerous Danny Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on Dangerous Danny Davis. I don't think
Ricky went out that early.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No Macho Man went. Maybe
this has been that year he had that match with Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, I believe. I was going to maybe say Hacksaw, but at the same time, Hacksaw was kind of a much bigger deal at this point
than Brutus.
Yeah, so you're probably not wrong. I'm definitely going to go Danny Davis on Honky Tonk's team. But yeah, probably Brutus too. I'm gonna go with you on this one. I've kind of taken a page out of your book and just kind of copied a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking
you did the legwork this week.
We're about to be fucking wrong as shit. It's gonna be Hercules and fucking Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I mean, my second runner up would probably be Outlaw Ron Bass for the Honky Tonks team. But Again, I don't remember much about him or Danny Davis at all. I remember everybody else in this 10-man, or 5-on-5 elimination. So, yeah, I guess that's what we'll go with. So let's go over here and take a look at the answer. He wrote, if you're wondering why, I would ask who were the first men to be eliminated for each team in the first Survivor Series match. It's simple. The first ever elimination was a double elimination. Both Harley Race and Jim Duggan were counted out for brawling on the floor.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't assume Harley Race.
Man, look at that trick question.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, Harley Race of all people. That's kind of surprising. I mean, I could see Jim Duggan maybe, but Harley Race, that's a bit of a shock.
When he's the captain of the team, isn't he?
Yeah. No, it was Honky Tonk.
Oh, Honky Tonk. Yeah. Oh.
But even so, it was a big name at the time, though, for sure.
Maybe him and Duggan had something going on, though.
That's possible. If not, I mean, I'm sure it was a great brawl. I mean, those two for sure could have gone at it. The first pinfall elimination would be Outlaw Ron Bass being pinned by Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who was then pinned next by the Honky Tonk Man. So we were close when it come to the actual pinfalls. Yeah. But not.
I would have never thought a brawl.
No, I never would have either. I mean, but then again, it's WWE. I guess I shouldn't be super surprised. But some things just never change. The first survivors would be Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, and Jake Roberts, as Honky Tonk Man would eventually bail and get counted out on purpose to run away from the 3-on-1 advantage. So can't blame Honky Tonk on that one. But,
that seems like a shitty ass way to end it, though.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it was the first match on the show, so
yeah, but it would play the Honky Tonk's character. So I guess
that's true too. I mean, and sometimes we tend to forget, as much as we sometimes criticize, there are certain things you can do like this, where a guy bails on a match if it makes narrative sense. It's not a problem. It's just
as being a cowardly heel that he was. Yeah, I would have seen he would have dipped.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just would have never expected the brawl though, especially with Harley Race. And,
I wouldn't have either.
Duggan. But like I said, they could have had a through storyline where, it called for that. You know what I mean? It
absolutely.
The whole,
yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Well, anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Mike's Wrestling Fun Facts and Trivia. What do you guys think about this Survivor Series trivia question? Do you guys remember the inaugural first ever Survivor Series back in 1987? Were you around like us old farts were? Or were you just, not even a thought? Let us know. Comment down below. And don't forget to let us know if you got the right answer or not. All right, so with that being said, let's jump into the final segment of tonight's episode. And that is, of course, we're going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite for November 3rd, 2021. The show opened up with Excalibur, who spoke on behalf of AEW and said that their support was fully behind Jon Moxley during this difficult time. So for those of you who are not aware, Jon Moxley apparently went to Tony Khan, for what I understand, according to Tony Khan himself, just a few days ago, probably around the beginning of the week, the way he talked, and let him know that he was going to be checking himself into an inpatient alcoholic rehab facility of some sort. Apparently, he's obviously dealing with some alcoholic drinking problems, and I believe even in his book that was just released yesterday, as a matter of fact, when you're watching this video, he even talked about how he was literally one step away from being a full-blown alcoholic. So with the fact that he now has a brand new baby girl that he welcomed with his wife, Renee. Most of you remember Renee from WWE television as well. I guess he decided it was best for him and his family to get this taken care of and do what's best for his mental well-being and physical well-being at that. So me and Brandon both here on the channel agree with the sentiment that we wish Jon Moxley the absolute best. Hope he gets things corrected and can do what's best for his life. His personal life, first and foremost. His wrestling life is secondary. No doubt about that. And I totally agree with AEW allowing him to have the time off that he needs. With that being said, hopefully he'll come back stronger and better than ever. Kenny Omega opened up the show, which I gotta admit, when Kenny Omega walked out on the ramp, a part of me just thought to myself, how often does AEW start the show with their world title, with their world champion? It's not as often as you might think it would be, but it was good to see him in an opening matchup here, where he went up against Alan 5 Angels of the Dark Order. Apparently, this is a rematch of a match that they did last year that apparently took Kenny Omega to his limits a little bit. It's kind of a bit of a surprise, so they decided to play it up again here. Omega had control on the floor, but was met with an moonsault and a top rope crossbody for a 2 count. Alan Angels tried to follow it up with a frog splash, but Omega got the knees up. A pop-up powerbomb got a 2 count. Angels fought out of the one-winged angel and rolled Omega up for 2 before kicking out of a V-trigger, just like their previous match. However, 2 more V-triggers follow to give Omega the win here. I saw some people online talking about how Kenny Omega was giving too much offense to Alan Angels. A lot of people feel like since he's the AEW World Champion, this should have been a quick squash match, being as a member of the Dark Order. But I can understand that, but at the same time, it's also good to put over young talent, correct?
Yes, but at the same time,
there's a nice balance there.
They have the Dark Order has been a joke for a while, and it's like one of the situations where I understand you want to try to put some relevance back into him. Going against your heavyweight champion and giving him a match isn't it?
Now, don't forget they beat the Elite last week in a 5-on-5 or whatever it was, 4-on-4 or something like that. So they have been getting some wins.
Yeah, that's the Elite. That's not Kenny in a one-on-one situation.
Well, no, but I mean, still.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, well, that's what they were billed as, like for a while. I'm saying, like, and I get that you're trying to move them out of that into something more serious and substantial. I'm cool with that. Like, I have nothing against that. I personally like that idea. I was a huge fan of the Dark Order when they first showed up,
especially with Brody. Yeah, that was great.
And then even with Brody, but I mean, when they first showed up, they made such an impact when they first showed up, and it was just Evil Uno and
Stu Grayson.
Yeah, Stu Grayson. And then it took this weird turn after Brody's death. So
yeah, they kind of divulged into the comedy faction.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So I get the criticism in this situation because it's like, yeah, but it's Kenny Omega against a member of a faction that I get that you're trying to bring out of obscurity, but this ain't how you do it. Not yet. You know what I'm saying? Well, and I'm glad they had a great match, and I'm glad it was awesome. You know what I'm saying? From his standpoint, you know, and what it does for him personally. I'm just saying I understand why people would feel this way.
Yeah, and to be fair, I wish they had the time of this match on here. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he's going much longer than he should." Now, I was watching this kind of going, it's really, by the time it ended, it really wasn't super long. It wasn't like a 2-minute squash on Raw, thank God, because I don't like those. But it also wasn't 15 minutes either.
A squash could be good when it's warranted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A 2-minute squash, like, if Bobby Lashley gets in the ring with somebody the size of fucking what was his name?
Omos? I don't know who we're talking about.
No. Helmsworth. That's not his name. The dude that did the whole thing with he almost died taking a freaking Styles class.
Name. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but but I can't think of his name. It's Helmsworth, something Helmsworth, something like that. But anyway,
that match should be over within 30 seconds.
Right, agreed. Now we've seen all the Dark Order members have outstanding matches as a team. Some of the guys haven't had it. Yeah, some of the guys haven't had a chance to actually shine as a single. This is a start here, and of course, John Silver is getting a match with Adam Cole on Rampage this week.
And again, that's a good match to show. But that's a good match to showcase and elevate the Dark Order. Yes, he's a member of the Elite, but he's not Kenny.
Yeah, true. And Kenny's the world champion, so I understand the criticism. But by the end of this match, though, it is worth noting, too, as much as we're talking about how he gave some offense to Alan Angels, by the end of it, it was clear who was the better man. Kenny Omega was one-sided by the end of it. So it wasn't like the whole time, you know, it was a close match. I mean, by the end of it, there was one clear-cut winner, and that was the AEW World Champion. So at the same time, I understand the criticism a little bit, but at the same time, I think there was a decent balance here. So I don't know if it's anything to go crazy over for sure.
No,
but,
I'm not saying that either.
Yeah,
like I said, give the man his due. Let him get his shine in. You know, let him get his shit in too.
Yeah.
But it's
that's how you build talent properly, even during a loss.
Yes, but it's also a way to, if you make it too competitive, then it seems like, well, that was a struggle and a half. But if Kenny already acknowledged the fact before that he gave him a run for his money, then it's kind
Before.
of what you expect to happen.
Yeah. So in order for him to come out here and give him another run for his money like he did in the first match, it made some sense.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was just completely out of nowhere for sure. After the match, Kenny Omega mockingly thanked Alan Angels for ruining his career. Nakazawa threw him a chair, and Omega set up for the one-winged angel, but Adam Hangman Page's music interrupted, and he walked out to confront Omega. Omega ducked to avoid a buckshot lariat as Page stood tall. Omega had left the world title belt in the ring, and Adam Page told him to hold on tight to it. He's got 10 days left with it. So I like the build here, and not only that, he missed the buckshot lariat. That's something you save to hit Kenny Omega with at the pay-per-view. So I like the tease, and they didn't give it away here for free. So that's a good build in my opinion. So I'm liking the build they're doing here, and hopefully they'll maybe next week. I think we got one more week of Dynamite before we go home for the pay-per-view. I'd like to see them maybe play a little bit more on their past relationship as tag team champions and their friendship and Page's friendship with the Elite that kind of went sour. I think they'd be,
but they already did. They already told that story.
Yeah, they did, but I just kind of like to be reminded of it a little bit before we get and I'm sure they will in like promo packages and stuff like that for sure. So all things considered, I think it's been a pretty decent world title build. Up next, we had Malachi Black. He addressed Tony Khan, banning him from ringside for Cody versus Andrade here this evening. He said it wouldn't have an effect on the outcome of the match. So Malachi Black taking a little bit of a step back the last couple weeks to kind of let this whole, feud build between Andrade and Cody, and I'm still. I think they announced the tag match for Full Gear. If not, I'm sure they're going to between Pac and Cody and Malachi and Andrade. So that could be a great tag match. So we'll see what they do with that as well. After this, we had CM Punk. He came out for a promo. I know he's been getting some criticism about how he needs to be in storylines, and people were like Eric Bischoff were already online complaining how Kingston Punk had no storyline to it. They just started it like last Friday. They haven't had a chance to get into it yet, so calm down, Eric. It'll come. But Punk said he's not in a great mood here. He said there's two people who aren't here tonight. One is not here for a legitimate reason, and that's Jon Moxley, who got a huge chant after this as Punk encouraged them to chant for Moxley and not him. He said he understands taking a break and stepping away, and he's proud of Jon Moxley. Punk addressed anyone at home watching who needs help and told them to get it. It can be one of the scariest things you can ever do, but also one of the most courageous things you could do. So definitely do this. And Punk being a straight edge guy, I'm sure he understands, as best as he can, because obviously he's never really drank alcohol. The second person who's not here tonight, though, he said is Eddie Kingston. Punk said there's no beef between him and Kingston. He'd fight him, but Kingston isn't here because the crowd was chanting for him to fight him, and then they chanted for Full Gear. Punk said he's going to be in St. Louis waiting to accept Kingston's apology. St. Louis's Rampage this week. Kingston's the reason Punk isn't joining the Eliminator tournament. Their confrontation will happen Friday. So, because I guess he was waiting to hear from Kingston, but Kingston didn't show up. Punk was going to actually be the replacement, according to him, but they instead decided to go with someone else, who I think was actually the better choice. So that's kind of the story they're telling, that possibly Kingston, because he didn't want to show up tonight, cost Punk a world title opportunity. So there's the start of that story. Yes, we've only got a few weeks to build it, but again, I would rather not see like this overblown, overproduced, narrative of a story if all of it's going to be is something that's unnecessary for the match to take place. Yes, good storytelling is good for pro wrestling, no doubt about that. And if you could do it, fine, that's fine. But I don't think it's always completely necessary to just be like, all right, you got to come up with something creatively, like, this guy cheated on my wife or something like this. It doesn't have to be something like that.
No, but wasn't the whole justification behind this was after he lost that match, he was headed to the back, and Punk was in an interview,
and he interrupted,
laughing about something, and he
wasn't even laughing. He was just kind of talking to Shivani, and Kingston came up, thought he was laughing, and accused him of laughing at him for losing to Bryan Danielson, which wasn't the case at all. But Kingston, being the hothead, kind of spouted off the mouth, and then Punk wasn't going to take it, and they kind of got into a verbal shouting match. So again, that's the start of something, and that's really all you need, just that little spark.
What does that have to do with tonight then? How did he cost him the title shot?
Because Punk was expecting, I guess, according to him, for Kingston to show up, and he was going to address that. And I guess since he didn't show up, he was waiting on Kingston to show up, so that's why he didn't accept the opportunity to be in the tournament, because he was waiting for Kingston. Okay. And since that didn't happen, now he couldn't jump into the tournament again. I guess that's the explanation. But again, it's just a little thing they threw in there. It wasn't anything major. But so, I mean, I just feel like, some people get overblown like, well, the AEW has no storytelling. I think if you feel that way, you don't usually watch AEW completely, or at least don't get the nuance in the storytelling in AEW. It's not quite as in your face as WWE or some other companies for sure. But I'm not going to say that AEW always has the, most intriguing storyline sometimes either. Sometimes it is about the wrestling itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's all in your preference. I just feel like,
because there are some stories in AEW that was crap. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be real honest with you.
yeah, and there's stories in all
That-
companies that are like that, for sure.
That whole story narrative with the Blade and Cassidy got old real quick.
With the brass knuckles and stuff like that, which the Bunny still uses occasionally. It's still kind of a gimmick for the Butcher and the Blade faction. But yeah, I mean, there's some stuff like, you could argue the Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho, what was it, Mimosa match? You could argue that was ridiculous. I mean, there are always going to be things in pro wrestling, regardless of what company you watch, that are going to be absolutely ridiculous and silly. You just kind of got to roll with it.
That's wrestling.
That's wrestling. So if you don't like that, now I'm talking to myself here. I'm one of the biggest offenders at this. I often criticize stuff I think is stupid. But at the same time, as a wrestling fan, I've got to learn to step back and say, you know what? Pro wrestling is stupid sometimes. That's what makes it pro wrestling. It's not always going to be serious.
Because sometimes it's wrestling, sometimes it's entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on what it is that day.
Yeah, so I'm guilty of it just as much as anybody. I criticize stuff sometimes that I know other people will like, and sometimes if it's just not my cup of tea, I gotta understand it's just not my cup of tea. Somebody else likes it. Next up, we had Miro, who apparently was announced as the replacement for Jon Moxley to face Orange Cassidy in the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament, which Tony Khan had mentioned earlier in the day on Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez that he, had a replacement that made some sense. And to be honest, Miro is probably, if you're going to choose anybody, makes the most sense based on wins and losses. Miro's lost one match as a single, and that was when he lost the TNT title. So if anybody deserves a shot at the world title, it is Miro. Outside of that, the storyline, I guess you could argue there wasn't much there to explain it other than that. But I guess if you're going to have a replacement, that's who you can use. And to be honest, AEW is in a lose-lose situation. No matter what they did, if they pick somebody who was already eliminated, somebody's going to say, well, they already had their shot. They shouldn't have another chance. If he'd have picked anybody up off the roster, they'd have said, well, why weren't they in the tournament to begin with? But because of the circumstance with Moxley in real life, this is something you just got to let slide. And I would do the same thing with if it was WWE, whatever it might be. Like when Becky Lynch had to drop the title because she got pregnant. That's real life
like
stuff.
when Roman had to drop the title because of
leukemia.
Real life shit.
Right. So you just gotta let it go. And if anybody criticizes this, I think they need to rethink that. So Miro addressed his God. This was interesting because he's always been praising his God and praising his wife. And of course, ever since he lost the TNT title, he feels like his God has betrayed him. After all his prayers, he is finally placed into a title race. Miro will be champion, and then his God will be forgiven, assuming that means he's Moxley's replacement in this match. So, he basically said, he was turning on his God a little bit. He was mad at his God, and he said he hasn't, been able to go home to his wife, and he will redeem himself, and he will get love again, because I guess that's just kind of the way it's been since he lost the TNT title with his wife, Lana, CJ Perry. Again, more teases. She's coming. I have no doubt about that. Next up, we had the Super Click and Jurassic Express and Christian Cage brawl. The Super Click, the Bucks, and Adam Cole were backstage with Alex Marvez. Adam Cole said last week's shenanigans were a fluke. Nick Jackson said they're tough guys, not afraid of anyone. And that's when Christian Cage walked up, so, the Bucks started to act scared. But Matt talked him down before Luchasaurus appeared behind him, so they appeared scared again. It broke down into a brawl that spilled out into the stage area. Luchasaurus was low-blowed, and the Super Click stood tall until Jungle Boy, who got recently wiped out, came back and wiped out everybody out off of a dive off the stage. Christian speared Matt on the stage and went for a kill switch, but Nick Jackson landed a super kick. Jurassic Express regained control, and Luchasaurus powerbombed Nick onto Cole before Jungle Boy locked Cole in the snare trap as Christian crushed Adam Cole's head with a concerto. So this is definitely, they destroyed the Elite here. Gotta admit, it was a little, refreshing to see the Elite kind of not come out on top for once. It was nice to see that. I saw somebody online was criticizing AEW's like, oh, it's the Jungle Express and the Bucks again, which I understand they have wrestled. I actually looked this up. It does feel like they've wrestled a lot in recent memory, but here's the stats. if you compare this to Apollo Crews versus Nakamura in WWE, Nakamura versus Apollo Crews in 2021 alone, they've wrestled 22 times in 10 months, and whether it be a single, a tag match, or whatever it might be. 22 times in 10 months. King Corbin versus Nakamura in 2021 has been 12 times. The Bucks and Jungle Express have wrestled 5 times in 2021, 7 times since April of 2020. So, no, they are not really doing this repeat. And when they have wrestled 5 times or so in 2021, it's been spaced out. It's not like it's week in, week out, every single week on every single show. So, to me, that's not comparable. But this is the Elite versus the young, Jurassic Express and Christian Cage, which they recently did on Rampage when Adam Cole debuted. So, again, I guess if you want to see it that way, that's fine. Personally, I don't think it's as overblown as people were making it out to be. But that's just me. But the way they set this up, I kind of wondered if it's going to be Christian versus Adam Cole at the pay-per-view. That's just what I'm guessing. I wouldn't think they do the 6-man again since they just did it recently, but I don't know. Maybe we get the Bucks versus the Jungle Express, or they could do the 6-man. I don't know. But it's clearly going to be leading somewhere, I think. So we'll see where they go with it. A video promo aired for Ruby Soho versus Chris Statlander, which is one of the next rounds in the tournament for the TBS Championship. Soho's nervous but confident, while Statlander wants gold. So great. 2 baby faces going to go toe-to-toe. That should be a good match, really. Then we had the AAA Tag Team Championships, FTR, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler with Tully Blanchard. They defeated Samurai Del Sol, I think that's how you say it, and Arrow Star. Samurai Del Sol is the former WWE Kalisto, making his appearance on AEW. So Arrow Star fainted on a dive inside and instead dove on Harwood on the floor. A reverse diving headbutt allowed Aerostar to reach Samurai for the tag. Samurai laid in a series of kicks. Then he and Aerostar used teamwork to assist on a dive for 2. They both landed Hurricanrana cradles for near falls. Darby Allin was shown in the crowd during this match, so that comes up into play later. Samurai hit sliced bread and Aerostar hit yet another dive for a 2 count. Harwood countered a Samurai dive and hit the brainbuster on the floor. Aerostar and Wheeler exchanged cradles with the latter, grabbing the ropes for leverage to retain via a pinfall here. So, a little bit of a trickery here by the FTR, kind of using the ropes to get the advantage there. But that's kind of what, top guys do, I suppose.
Top guys.
Top guys out. So they retain their AAA titles here, no doubt about it. But yeah, so, I mean, this is a fun match for a luchador, AAA style. Which apparently means, well, FTR made this challenge on Dark, I believe it was, and said they were laying out an open challenge to any luchador to challenge them because FTR wanted to prove they were the best luchador wrestling tag team in the world. So they wouldn't accept, and the Lucha Brothers could not accept because they just wrestled them, which they're going to wrestle them at the pay-per-view too for the AEW World Titles. But so at least they paid it off here with some Mexican wrestling from AAA, and I thought it was a decent match for all things considered. Mm-hmm. Last week, Hikaru Shida was given her 50-win trophy for being the first AEW woman to accomplish that. Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero interrupted, with Rose saying Shida's run into a roadblock. Good little promo here by Nyla Rose, and they're going to square off in, I believe, the second round of the TBS Championship tournament. So I'm assuming Hikaru Shida gets the win here. Probably, I think, facing the winner of Jade Cargill and whoever she's facing, which I don't think they've revealed. I think it's on Rampage this week. Probably going to be Red Velvet facing Jade Cargill, but we'll see. Next up, we had the Inner Circle out to declare who they're going to wrestle from America's top team at Full Gear. Sammy Guevara won against Ethan Page last week, so that means the Inner Circle gets to choose. Dan Lambert and company interrupted, with Jericho calling them a collection of dumb idiots. Typical Jericho promo skills here for sure, but Jericho's great though, no doubt about it. Lambert told Jericho to put respect on his name before running down his team, outlining each of their unique strengths. Jake Hager chose Junior Dos Santos because obviously Jake probably wants to prove himself against, the former UFC World Heavyweight Champion. Mm-hmm. At Full Gear, he'd be dropped faster than his 71-second last fight. Ooh, burn. So Santana wanted Andre Orlovsky, asking what happens when there aren't any rules and regulations. And then Paige Van Zant volunteered herself for the street fight. Jericho joked, "You want to take on all 5 of us by yourself?" That joke writes itself. So he said maybe you could put it on your OnlyFans account. So Jericho definitely going for the low blow there. Before surprising that he was going to be adding Dan Lambert to the match. So it's going to be Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus and Junior Dos Santos, Arlovsky, and Dan Lambert against the Inner Circle. So I predicted, I believe it was last week, that it was probably going to be Dan Lambert was going to be one of the 5. Makes some sense. He actually, I believe, wrestled a match in Impact or TNA against James Storm at one point, or he was involved. So Dan Lambert's been in the ring before. I don't know, obviously, in a 10-man tag, there's ways of, hiding the weaknesses of Dan Lambert or Junior Dos Santos or Andre Orlovsky, since they're not full-time wrestlers. I'm sure it's going to be Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page doing most of this work.
Yeah.
And there's going to be other guys from the Elite or Inner Circle helping them out as well. So this will probably be well done and well choreographed for those who are inexperienced. So yeah, Dan Lambert was absolutely livid with this, no doubt about it. And I'm not gonna lie, too, Dan Lambert, there's guys in the pro wrestling business who have been in the business for years. They don't have half the heat that Dan Lambert has when he comes out here and cuts a promo. You could argue it's go away heat or just heel heat. I don't know, but this crowd hates it when he speaks. So there's that, and it gets a reaction. Dante Martin and Leo Rush were being interviewed before being interrupted by Matt Sydal, who said he still thinks Martin has potential. There are other people with potential, though, so Sydal has taken Lee Moriarty under his wing. So it looks like Lee Moriarty, who used to be a member of Cody's faction, I believe. I think that's that's Lee Johnson. My apologies. Sydal challenged them to a tag match, and Rush accepted. So we're going to be getting that at some point soon, probably within the next week or so.
What are they doing with Rush, out of curiosity?
Well, he's acting like he's taking Dante Martin under his wing, but Dante Martin is clearly acting like he wants no part of this. But his tag partner and his brother is injured in real life, so it's probably just something to keep Dante Martin on television, who is a great professional wrestler at the age of 20, I believe. So I'm sure it's eventually going to lead to him turning on Leo or Leo turning on him or whatever, and they're going to have a feud. But it's just kind of one of those mid-card feuds, I think. But we'll see where they go with it. TBS Championship Tournament. Jamie Hayter defeated Anna Jay to advance against Thunder Rosa in the next round. Neither woman established an advantage until Jay reversed a Irish whip into the barricade. Hayter booted Jay upon re-entry to the ring ahead of a break. Once back from the commercial, Jay made a comeback with clotheslines and a DDT for 2. She went for the Queen Slayer, but Hayter flipped out of it before Jay applied it once again. Rebel distracted the official, allowing Baker to interfere, and Jamie Hayter hit a lariat for the win here. So, again, you can do certain things like this occasionally, but I hate when WWE does this thing where heel on the outside causes or gets involved and we don't get a clean win. Again, that's pro wrestling, I guess, but as long as you do it in spurts, but I prefer to see clean wins. Now, there were some clean wins on this show, so it's not like it was overblown. But again, if I want to criticize one company about it, I guess I got to say something here. What did you think about it?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it. Okay. Well, I didn't know if you thought about anything about that particular.
Well, no, I mean, it's just it can be overdone.
I think that's the biggest criticism of WWE with stuff like this.
Yes, because sometimes with WWE, it's to a point to where like it doesn't
every match
fit the scenario. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
in my Raw review, I actually praised WWE doing a DQ finish because there was one that Dominic inadvertently cost Rey Mysterio a match against the guy from The Way, Austin Theory. So in that regard, I thought that was a place to do a DQ finish because it plays into the narrative of Rey and Dominic, having this dissension. This plays into the narrative of Baker, and all this stuff with the women's title. So I mean, I think it was just fine here. At least it made some sense. But again, it just depends on when and where you pick and choose your spots with it. Yep. The heels beat down Anna Jay after the match. So Ty Conti, who is the #1 contender for Britt Baker's title at Full Gear, she ran out to make the save. She was eventually overwhelmed by the numbers advantage until Thunder Rosa came out to even the odds because, as I said, Thunder Rosa will now face Jamie Hayter in the next round. So it sounds like we're going to be getting a 3-on-3 6-woman tag match with these women before we get the next round of the tournament, I'm assuming. So we'll see what happens with that. Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling were backstage. They said it doesn't matter who she faces in round 2. She'll keep it short and sweet. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Like I said, I'm predicting Red Velvet on Rampage to win in her match against the Bunny. MJF and Darby Allin have a promo here. MJF addressed Darby Allin in the ring, saying they're both pillars. Without them, this company does not work. The fans know that they're both going to become legendary, so why is it that they boo MJF and cheer Darby Allin? Well, maybe it's because, MJF is a total douche nugget.
Yeah,
They hate MJF because it reminds them of someone successful in their lives and they can't measure up. He's a symbol of everything they wish they could be, but Darby Allin is one of them. He'll never fit in.
That's why they boo you right there.
Yeah, that's why they boo you, because of this remarks like that, which, of course, this is playing into the heel gimmick for sure. Yeah. Even though Darby Allin's cool and brooding, between the ropes, he turns into a glorified stuntman, which prompted Mick Foley on Twitter to say, hey, that's my gimmick. But MJF said that Darby Allin will lose at Full Gear because he's better than Darby Allin, and Allin knows it. Allen's energy doesn't matter because MJF is a better wrestler than him. MJF could even beat Darby Allin with a headlock takeover. Darby Allin said that at Full Gear, they'd have a wrestling match. He's actually cutting this promo from the crowd he's sitting in because he'd let his anger and aggression out right now tonight. MJF walked up the ramp but was met with Sting and a line of people dressed like him as he tried to escape. Wardlow and Shawn Spears came out and brawled with the clones as MJF and Darby Allin fought in the stands. They brawled on the outside. Darby Allin sent MJF into the barricade and then landed a ridiculous full-speed running clothesline over the barricade to send MJF into the ringside area. This looked like it sucked because he kind of got way back into the crowd, told him to part, and he ran as fast as he could into MJF. This looked like it sucked. Darby Allin rolled MJF into the ring and wanted a coffin drop, but MJF escaped as Darby Allin stood tall. So get a little bit of a tease here. He doesn't hit the coffin drop, so again, you don't give away that before the pay-per-view. And MJF doing what MJF does, staying out of the fight as much as he possibly can, which is playing into the gimmick at this point. So we'll see what happens here. I think either one of these two guys could win this feud, and either one of them will be just fine. The other one will be fine too. I don't think it's going to matter, but it's going to be a fun match to watch regardless. Next up, we had Andrade El Idolo versus Cody Rhodes. Cody went for a figure four, but Andrade locked it in on himself. So definitely Andrade kind of paying homage to his probably, I believe it was either father-in-law to be. I don't think that him and Charlotte are married just yet, but I got to get caught up on my gossip, I suppose.
Wait, I thought they did.
I can't remember if they're married or just engaged. They may be married by now. I'll have to double check on that. Cody eventually flipped over, though, reversing the pressure on his opponent. So Cody wanted a dive, but Andrade's helper interfered, so Arn took him out on the outside. FTR rolled out from under the ring and hit Cody with their belts on a dive, much like how they won, I believe, the titles off of the Lucha Brothers here. And Andrade then hit the Hammerlock DDT for the win. So this, again, is telling a story during the match of Andrade hired FTR a few weeks back and paid him some money, and apparently he's got him working for him again here. And apparently it wasn't just a one-time thing like MJF said. So they help him out here. And Andrade, I believe, might have even been involved in helping him win the AAA titles off of Lucha Brothers and things like that. So again, telling that story, furthering that during the match, which is good pro wrestling in my opinion. Interesting to note too, during this, I did not notice nearly as many boos for Cody Rhodes in this city. I saw a lot of wrestling commentators this week talking about how Cody Rhodes is basically John Cena and Roman Reigns right now. There's a section who love him, and there's a bunch of people who boo him. Regardless of what he does, that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's just the way it is. I think that's his lot in life now.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's sad because it's because he put himself in that position.
Yeah, you can maybe say that, yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before. It's one of those situations when you're in charge and it's like you're in charge. And then it's like you set yourself up in these positions. Mm-hmm. And then you get the reaction that you get from your fans who are like, all right, dude. You take a step away and some of them forgive you and some of them don't.
Yeah.
So from now on, he's going to be in that middle ground of there's parts who like you and there's parts who don't. And that depends on what city you're in too.
Yeah, it does. And some cities are just going to boo him like crazy. Like last week, there's going to be some like tonight. It's not so bad, if at all. I really don't recall hearing it too much. Mm-hmm. But that was just my take on it. But I mean, I do feel still like some of this is a little overblown for Cody. Some of it was probably overblown for Cena and Roman too, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Roman, I think a lot of it was due to the fact that they were just so stubborn, and Cena at the same time to not turn him heel. I still kind of got the feeling that Cody will eventually maybe turn heel. I know he says
But
otherwise.
I don't think that's going to save him.
It may not, but at least I feel like sometimes when this situation comes up, it's best to lean into it. Because look what's happening with Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns is one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in the pro wrestling business at this point. That's another argument for another podcast if you want to discuss all that. But I think,
but it's not unwarranted. It's not.
No, absolutely not. It's definitely justified. But yeah, I mean, they leaned into it though. Finally, after years of resisting,
And it's because everybody wanted it to happen. Because I mean, think about it this way: when The Rock first was there, Rocky Maivia, people fucking hated him.
Yeah, die Rocky, die was the chant.
And then you let him off of the leash and go, okay, let's just lean into this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Now the man can't do no fucking wrong.
No, well, not really. I mean,
in the wrestling world,
right. I mean, maybe real life. Some people may have their own opinions on things, but yeah, I mean, and in the movie world right now, I mean, about every movie he makes is popular, if not widely successful.
I cannot wait for Black Adam.
But yeah, just think about this. There was a time when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was hated in the world pro wrestling.
Man,
yeah, when he first debuted, man, people could not stand the guy. Die Rocky, die was the chant.
And
this crowd were chanting for his murder.
It became a thing with John Cena, where it started off naturally. People just hated him. He was that pretty boy, clean cut, all American, and people fucking despised him. And then he did the whole rapper thing, and that's when people were like, "Oh, okay,
they liked him." Yeah.
And then it turned in from like, okay, it's cool, to where it's just like people got annoyed. Now it's this thing of it's John Cena, boom. Not that you hate him, it's just become this Pavlovian response to him. Not even because you hate him, it's John Cena. It's like the same thing with Kurt Angle. His music comes on.
Yeah, you suck. Of course,
yeah, and that's
what
what you
kind of.
Yeah, but that's what you do because it's him. You know what I mean? And Cody's, it's going to be. And I think that's what it's going to end up becoming.
And I think about it. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times in this situation too, it's not so much that the crowd actually hates the wrestler or anything like it. It's just they like to boo because it's kind of the end thing to do, or and you may not care for the way the character is being run or anything like that. But I think about in all these situations, John Cena, Roman Reigns, we respect the talent and we respect the individual as a wrestling character. But sometimes we don't really care for the booking sometimes,
and that's another thing as wrestling fans too that you got to get over because you're not dictating that shit.
Yeah,
you may have a vision for a wrestler, but that's not the vision for that wrestler. You get what I'm saying? Like in your mind, you have a set direction where you want to see him go. That's not in the cards for him.
Not according to the company who runs it. Yeah, or makes
exactly.
Decisions.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
is that.
So it's like you're not what I thought you should be or what you should be in my eyes. So I'm shitting on it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying every fan's like that, but there's a large majority that.
And there's a fine line with that too, in my opinion, because you're right. The decision makers like Vince McMahon or Tony Khan in this case, if they have a plan or a story they want to tell with a certain character, that's what they're going to try to do, and they hope you enjoy that. And sometimes it gets pushback. There are also other times, especially when it comes to WWE side of things, it feels like sometimes where you may, want a professional wrestler to get an opportunity, and they don't ever give them that opportunity. So sometimes you can't say, well, that's just, the wrestler didn't have it or they didn't see anything in him. Well, if you didn't give him that chance, I mean, look at a guy like Cesaro. Cesaro has got every tool in the book to be what I would consider, now again, this is a fan saying this, to be a much bigger deal and a world champion type caliber talent. But for whatever reason, WWE does not see him as that. There's a disagreement between the fans, or at least some fans, and the company. So, yeah, there's a give and take there. Fans got to understand it's not our company; it's theirs. They're going to run it how they want to run it. Period. And if we don't,
and
like
it's
that,
honestly too.
don't watch.
Some of it's a thing too. Even if you ask, some of these guys in a more candid situation, why do you think you never got it? And a lot of them may honestly tell you, as long as they're okay with checking their egos, that it was just something I wasn't doing, or something that I wasn't prepared for. given the opportunity, would you have done it? Yeah, but I think I would have failed.
Sometimes. Other times it's the opposite, where it's like,
Yeah.
if I'd have been given a chance, I would have,
Yeah, and
become the
there's-
next
and
Stone
there's-
Cold Steve Austin.
But see, you can't reach for that bar because
Well,
again, like we talked
that's an
about this
example.
before too. Like in anything in business or professionally, you don't want to strive to be like. I get it. Michael Jordan was a pillar in basketball.
Mhm.
You don't want to be the next Michael Jordan. Your whole goal is to surpass that.
You need to be the best version of you.
Yes.
That's the best thing to aim for. Yeah, I mean, there's just sometimes I think that fans want to see someone get that opportunity because let's be honest, I don't know if even Stone Cold Steve Austin would have been Stone Cold today. That Austin 316 promo that we discussed recently,
And
here on
that's
the
what
channel
made it.
would never have happened based on the scripting they do in WWE now. And I think part of that is because WWE doesn't want someone to become as big as Rock or Austin again because they're afraid they're going to leave them with nothing. But that's also on the company though for not building up another star. But again, there's a fine line with all of this, but the bottom line is, Vince McMahon runs that company. He can do what he wants. We don't have to like it. We don't have to watch. Nope. But we have fun here, kind of discussing and criticizing stuff. But we
like
also
I said,
know our role.
you also too. Not saying you.
Yeah.
As a fan, you can't. Like I said, have this idea of what you want it to be, or you feel this person should be.
You're
not the one
yourself.
making. Yeah, you're not the one making that call.
At the end of the day, you got to, if you like the program, want to give it a chance, great. And
Then
hopefully
you go
you'll
for
like it.
Yep.
If not, maybe pro wrestling is not for you. That's just the way
Either
it runs.
you take that journey and see where it ends. I mean, like I said, everybody was high hopes on EC3 until we got to see him
with his horrible tan. That's a whole nother.
And then I was kind of like, well, I see what happened with you.
But anyhow, yeah, not.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm being
wasn't his
honest.
best showing,
Like I'm being honest.
Yeah, I hear you,
It was like, yo,
brother.
the fuck?
Ooh, wait a
it was bad, dude.
It was rough, bro. After this match, FTR and Tully held Cody up as they all beat him down. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard faced off. They looked like they were about to brawl, but then Lucha Brothers ran out and fought FTR. They looked for their finisher, but Cash Wheeler pulled Dax Harwood out of the ring before they could. So again, teasing the Full Gear match, so keeping it in everybody's mind, slowly building it. But interesting to see Tully and Arn, former tag partners when they were with the Full Horsemen, almost square up again. I wonder if we're ever going to get that physicality between the two on the outside or something.
I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted it to see, and it never happened because of what happened with Dax? No.
I think it was Cash.
Cash.
Who got the arm, yeah.
I wanted to see so bad Tully and Conan.
Like, that would have been fun. That
wanted it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
I was talking.
Never, man.
I was talking about Josh about that shit tonight. He was talking about Taz, how he would, because we were talking about him. We were talking about Eddie and Taz. He was talking about when they were on commentary, and he's like, it was the most New York conversation I've ever heard.
That's the truth of it too. some of their commentary teams are interesting.
Dying.
Yeah.
He was like, all they did was yell at each other or try to talk
pretty much.
over each other. And he goes, it was the most New York conversation I've ever heard. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. But anyway, I was telling him, like, those were guys I idolized. Eddie Kingston, Taz, Samoa Joe. Like, for me, like, I incorporated all three of those guys into what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I said, he said he would love to see Taz in like one more match. All right, open the door, baby.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know who I would have loved to see in one more match? And he goes, who? And I said, Conan. Conan was so unique. You know what I'm saying? For a guy his size and was able to do the shit that he was doing. Because you got to think, he was part of the Lucha Libre shit for a long time.
Right.
And then, he had size. You know what I mean? And the Tequila Sunrise was one of my favorite finishes. I could never do it right, but I used to love watching him do it. And then even when he was in the Lucha Underground, and it was like, dude, what happened? Like, he just got old. But it was like, I wanted to see him in the ring at least one more time. It ain't got to be for nothing major, nothing like that. It was just like, for me personally, like, yo, I'd love to see Conan get in there.
At least he got to
And-
show up a little bit in AEW.
Yeah.
He did,
He didn't do much.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool to see him though.
But I would love to see Arn and Tully lock it up one time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably going to have to be something during off to the side, not an actual match. But,
Hell no.
But I don't even know if Tully can take a spine buster.
Yeah, they ain't gotta. They ain't gotta lace up the boots. Right. Just throw fisticuffs.
Yeah, do a couple slaps or something like that. It would be interesting to see. But I would think clearly Arn has the advantage here. But you never know. Tully can be scrappy, brother.
Nah, bruh, it's Arn Anderson. Don't get me wrong. Tully Blanchard was a motherfucker back in his heyday, and so was Arn. But
the Enforcer still got size, though, bro.
I'm giving it to the Enforcer like a mug.
Yeah, double A.
Fuck around, catch that, get that spine buster on that mat on the outside. You better sit your ass down, Tully.
Better watch it.
Nah, Tully gonna hit that mother with a flapjack. Bam.
Bam, bam. After this, we had John Silver, who was in the ring with Tony Schiavone, promoting his upcoming Rampage match with Adam Cole. Johnny Hungy, John Silver, said he wouldn't be facing Adam Cole on Rampage. He'd be facing Budge, which is apparently a nickname that John Silver has given Adam Cole on Being the Elite, the YouTube channel, or the YouTube show that the Elite do. He's given Cole lots of advice, but Cole hasn't taken it, and that makes him mad. This Friday, he's going to kick some Budge ass. So I guess he's calling him Muff. He's been calling him Budge. He's been calling him all sorts of things that's just driving Adam Cole crazy.
Muff.
This is kind of one of these feuds where it's like it's going to be a fun match. So if you don't watch Being the Elite, you don't necessarily need to know the build up to a lot of this. But if you have been watching Being the Elite and some of the dark and stuff where they kind of reference this more often, this is going to pay off a little bit for you here on Rampage. Also interesting to note the Ghostbusters theme I noticed last week was "We Ain't Afraid of No Budge." That was the theme they were using during the theme song, which I thought was interesting. Whatever. A video promo aired for the Bunny versus Red Velvet next on Rampage. And Rampage will see Adam Cole versus John Silver, Velvet versus Bunny, and CM Punk and Eddie Kingston will come face to face on Friday. Miro is replacing Jon Moxley, who is stepping away from wrestling to treatment for his alcohol addiction. It's the smallest compliment possible, but this reviewer saw Moxley's last match live in Iowa, so they're talking about this here, the guy who wrote the article, so I'll move on from that. AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament, Miro versus Orange Cassidy. Orange fired up in the middle of this match and laid in right hands and a shotgun drop kick. He came around with the floating DDT for 2. Miro rode to the floor to avoid the Orange punch, so Orange climbed the ropes and drove Miro through a table with a diving elbow. That looked pretty spectacular. The official counted to a 9 count before Miro was able to get back into the ring. So again, Miro putting over Orange a little bit here, who is a very good wrestler when he tries in gimmick here. Miro countered an Orange punch, but Orange rolled out and hit the beach break for a good near fall. Miro then crushed Orange with a leaping kick before applying the game over submission for the immediate tap out. Yeah, Miro, as expected, it made the most narrative sense to have him go on to the finals at Full Gear. So we're going to be getting Miro versus Bryan Danielson at the pay-per-view to see who will take on Adam Hangman Page or Kenny Omega, whoever the winner of the world title match is at Full Gear. My guess is Adam Page, so my guess is going to be Miro somehow gets a victory over Bryan Danielson. We had this conversation a little bit earlier tonight that at some point you feel that CM Punk and Bryan Danielson are going to probably have to take a loss. Do you think against Miro is the time to take that cleanly, or is there going to be some shenanigans?
There shouldn't be any shenanigans. Because then you selly Miros at that point, too.
His devastation.
Yeah. So, like,
I mean,
Brian eats it clean.
No, that would be something.
No,
it would definitely be a statement.
Yeah. But it also shows that you're not putting these new guys on this pedestal either.
True. Very true. Miro has been an unstoppable force since he dumped Kip Sabian and became the TNT champion. But interesting to note, too, after this match, Bryan Danielson, who was on commentary, walked down to the ring to face off with Miro. He offered his hand to shake it, but Miro backed away as the show went off the air. So clearly this is going to be a brutal
There's a flip side.
match.
Did you have Miro lose?
You think so? Bryan Danielson against... I mean, if they go with Kenny Omega as the winner, which...
It doesn't have to be a heel and face thing.
That's true, too. It can be Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page, too.
Yeah.
Then you maybe give the loss to Bryan Danielson against Hangman. You could. I don't think Hangman's dropping that belt if he wins it right away.
No.
But if you were to want to do Bryan Danielson versus Kenny for the belt this time, I hope they don't delay Hangman again. I really hope they don't.
I told you my thoughts on that last time.
I know, we've talked.
If you decide to do that, then this is all for naught.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you've got to pull that trigger, and I think this has got to be it. It's got to be. If
Like,
not, I'm
Look, I gave you a pass in the hole. You can't, if you guys lose this tag match, you don't get a title shot thing. And I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna get him back in the title?
and then his wife had a baby, so I understand that.
Then you
So
figure
now,
out how
though,
you're gonna interject him back into this. You do that just to have him losing, and it makes zero fucking sense. That's why I don't think he's losing, or I don't think, I don't think he's losing against Kenny.
Mhm.
But I don't see Bryan Danielson losing against Miro either.
Yeah, and like you said though, it doesn't have to be a heel versus a face. It can be face versus face.
Yeah,
It
he
could
just
be
earned
heel
his
versus
shot.
here, but that's less likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he earned his shot, like face
did.
or not, he earned his shot. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, and you could have Danielson lose against him there.
You could. You
That'd be
absolutely
fine.
could. And by then, Bryan Danielson would probably be in the company at least 4 or 5 months at that point. I don't remember how long it's been. It's been at least a couple months.
But it's also
Depends on when you do the
I
match.
don't know.
It may be they may wait until there's rumors going around they may have a January pay-per-view, or at least a big show not long after WWE's Day One. I mean, WWE's trying to schedule stuff around AEW on Labor Day weekend and stuff, so AEW may start trying to counteract a little bit as well. I mean, fair is fair if you're going to go that way, but we'll see where they do this. It may be on a special Dynamite or something as well. I would figure if you're doing Danielson versus Page, though, you hold that off for a pay-per-view. And who's to say the winner of this tournament has to be the next challenger? Maybe they could, wait to challenge and just hold that in their back pocket. We don't know. You could write that many different ways, but we'll see where they take it. All right, so that will do it for tonight's AEW Dynamite review for November 3rd, 2021. Did you have any other thoughts on the stuff we talked about tonight, or are you ready to get out
man.
here for the evening?
Seems like a solid show, dude.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid show. This has actually been a really good week for solid wrestling. I thought Monday Night Raw was decent, had some good long matches. Some of the finishes were not great, but the wrestling was fun. NXT this week actually was better than Raw. The wrestling was really good. They're building some good young characters there and not completely, taking away the old guard as well from Triple H's NXT. So there's some good things happening in professional wrestling, even in WWE and in AEW both. So I hope you guys are enjoying this time. Cherish it because the competition, it's going to help all these shows become better, hopefully. And we'll see what happens on Smackdown and Rampage this Friday night. And I'll have a review, at least myself, on Saturday morning here on the channel. So look forward to that. So that'll about do it for us tonight here on the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're a first-time viewer or you are a returning viewer, please hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
We about to turn it up.